The people who leave the deepest mark on us are often the ones who quietly taught us to abandon ourselves. This video is a descent into one of the most misunderstood psychological traps: why we stay loyal to people who slowly reshape our identity. Not just through words or actions, but through psychological gravity, the invisible pull that makes harmful love feel inevitable. You'll see the patterns behind that gravity and the moments where attraction turns into erosion. If you stay until the end, you will understand the single question that instantly reveals whether someone deserves another chance, or whether you've been hypnotized by a bond that was designed to break you. I'm PsycheLure, the voice that speaks from the part of you that already knows the truth, but hasn't had the words to name it yet. Let's begin Section 1, when forgiveness becomes self-betrayal. There is a kind of forgiveness that doesn't heal you. It hollows you out in ways even silence can't explain. Most people think forgiveness is always noble, always the higher path. But there is a quieter, more dangerous version. The forgiveness you give because you're afraid of what will happen if you finally say no. It's the moment you convince yourself that it wasn't that bad, even though your body tightened, your voice dimmed, and a part of you silently begged to be protected. And here's the paradox nobody talks about. Some wounds don't repeat because they're forgiven. They repeat because your forgiveness teaches someone that you're willing to disappear to keep the peace. So before we talk about what is unforgivable, we need to understand something deeper. Forgiveness becomes self-betrayal the moment it requires you to shrink who you are, to make the relationship work at the cost of your own reflection. Ask yourself, when did peace start feeling like pretending? And when did pretending start feeling like love? Now, let's draw the line between human flaws and the patterns that quietly dismantle your identity. Section 2. The line between human flaws and unforgivable patterns. Everyone makes mistakes. We say the wrong thing, react from fear, shut down, misread, apologize, repair. Human flaws are part of connection. They create friction, but they don't rewrite the story of who you are. But patterns are different. A mistake has edges. A pattern has gravity. It doesn't just hurt you in the moment, it slowly reshapes your identity, the way water erodes stone. You don't notice the damage at first. You just feel yourself becoming a quieter version of who you used to be. Here's the real distinction. A mistake asks for understanding. A pattern demands that you adjust yourself around someone else's shadow. One can be forgiven, the other slowly convinces you that your needs are unreasonable, your instincts are flawed, and your boundaries are a burden. And the truth is simple. The unforgivable isn't defined by how dramatic the act is, but by how much of yourself you have to sacrifice to keep tolerating it. So, before we name the first pattern that does this, pause for a moment and ask yourself, which behaviors in your life have you normalized simply because you've gotten used to the weight of them? Let's descend into the first archetype, the one that takes your reality long before it ever takes your peace. Section 3. The reality breaker. Some people don't destroy your heart first, they destroy your clarity. The reality breaker doesn't shout, threaten, or explode. Their power is quieter. They edit your memory, question your perception, and rearrange the truth until you begin to doubt the one thing you were born with, your own mind. It starts subtly. A detail you remember clearly suddenly becomes not what happened. A moment that hurts you becomes you misunderstanding. A promise they made becomes something you imagined. And each time you swallow your intuition, something shifts inside you. Your inner compass spins, and you begin outsourcing reality to someone who benefits from your confusion. This is the real danger. Once someone convinces you that your instincts can't be trusted, you will tolerate behaviors you would have walked away from instantly. Confusion becomes compliance, doubt becomes dependence, And slowly the relationship stops being a connection and becomes a mental maze built by someone else. Quiet insight. Any love that requires you to silence your own mind is not love. It's psychological trespassing. Now, once someone alters your inner world, the next step is predictable. They begin altering the way the outer world sees you. Section 4. The public executioner. Some wounds are delivered in private, but the sharpest ones are delivered with an audience. The public executioner hides their cruelty behind humor, their contempt behind teasing, and their dominance behind just a joke. You know this person. They make comments that cut a little too deep, delivered with a smile calibrated to make you question your reaction. They never say these things when you're alone, only when others are watching, when your humiliation becomes entertainment. And here's the psychological twist. Humiliation is not an accident of bad timing. It's a performance designed to lower your status, so you won't feel confident enough to leave. But the cruelty doesn't stop there. When you finally speak up, they switch masks instantly. I didn't mean it. You're too sensitive. I was just trying to make everyone laugh. I don't know why you always make me the bad guy. Public degradation followed by private guilt trapping. A two-step routine that keeps you small in the eyes of others and conflicted in the eyes of yourself. And the most tragic part? You start rehearsing forgiveness before they even apologize. Quiet insight. Someone who loves you guards your dignity in front of others, even when you're not in the room. Now that your image has been weakened, the next pattern doesn't just target your pride, it targets your freedom. Section 5. The soft prison. The most effective cages are the ones that don't look like cages at all. Some people don't lock doors. They simply convince you that leaving would be unsafe, that independence is stressful, that privacy is suspicious. It begins with small intrusions disguised as care. Let me check your phone, I just worry. Share your location, it makes me feel close to you. I'll handle the money, you focus on us. Bit by bit, they construct a world where they hold every key. Your finances, your routine, your digital life, your sense of safety. And here's the psychological trap. When control is wrapped in tenderness, most people confuse captivity with closeness. You don't notice the walls forming because they're padded with reassurance. You don't feel the leash tightening because it's made of concern. But eventually, you stop making choices, not because you can't, but because you've forgotten how. Ask yourself quietly, if you had to rebuild your life without them tomorrow, what part of you would finally breathe? Quiet insight. A prison built from comfort is still a prison. It just teaches you to decorate your confinement. And once someone has shaped your world, the next pattern shows itself in the most unmistakable way, through the body's universal language. Danger Section 6. The visible line. There is a point in every unhealthy relationship where the mask slips and the truth speaks through the body. A shove because they were frustrated, a grip on your arm that lingers a moment too long, a door slammed inches from your face, a sudden flash of rage that evaporates just as quickly. These moments are often dismissed as stress, exhaustion, or just a bad day. But here's what psychology shows us over and over. People don't lose control. They simply stop controlling themselves with the people they believe won't leave. They can manage their tone at work. They can hold back with strangers. They can stay composed in public. So why not with you? Because the relationship has become the training ground where consequences no longer exist. Physical aggression, even in its lightest form, is never a standalone event. It is a preview, a rehearsal, a test. And every time you forgive it, the script gets darker. Quiet insight. Safety is not something you negotiate. It is something you either have or you don't. Now, if someone is willing to cross your body's boundaries, the next archetype reaches even deeper, straight into the soul of your attachment. Section 7. The soul thief. Some betrayals bruise the skin, others bruise the part of you that still believes in love. The soul thief doesn't just break trust, they break meaning. They promise devotion at sunrise and rewrite the script by nightfall. They confess their need for you, then vanish into secrecy. They use your deepest fears in arguments and your deepest hopes as bargaining chips, and when you finally pull away, they return with intensity. Soft words, trembling apologies, a sudden tenderness that feels like oxygen after drowning. But here is the psychological paradox that traps millions. You aren't addicted to them. You're addicted to the relief that comes after the pain they create. It's the emotional equivalent of holding your breath until someone gives it back to you. The highs feel transcendent only because the lows were engineered to collapse you. This cycle, harm, remorse, affection, repeat, is not chaos. It's conditioning. A reward schedule designed to bind you more tightly each time you break free. And the saddest part? You begin to believe the better version of them is real, and the darker one is just a temporary glitch. Quiet insight. The person who wounds you and the person who comforts you should never be the same person, which brings us to a deeper truth. Sometimes the reason you stay isn't because of who they are, but because of the stories your mind has built to survive them. Section 8. The 5 silent traps. People rarely remain in destructive relationships because they're weak. They remain because their mind becomes loyal to a narrative that once protected them. There are 5 traps most commonly activated. 1. The sunk cost trap. You've already given so much, leaving would make it meaningless. 2. The hope trap. One day the version of them I fell for will return. 3. The survival trap. Being alone feels more dangerous than being unhappy. 4. The shame trap. If I leave, I'll have to admit I tolerated what I knew was wrong. 5. The normalization trap. You start calling harm, misunderstanding, chaos, passion, control, care. These aren't flaws in your character, they're survival mechanisms, stories your nervous system created to keep you functioning inside a painful reality. But survival stories are not destinies. They are temporary shelters you're meant to outgrow. Quiet insight. You can respect the version of you who needed these stories and still choose a different story now. And once you understand why you stayed, you're finally ready to remember what healthy love actually feels like. Section 9. A different gravity. Remembering healthy love. Healthy love doesn't feel like a lightning strike. It doesn't pull you into chaos or make you doubt your reflection. It feels like something simpler and strangely unfamiliar to anyone who has survived emotional storms. It feels like gravity, steady, quiet, inescapably real. You don't have to decode hidden meanings. You don't have to rehearse your reactions. You don't have to shrink to fit the room. Healthy love gives your nervous system space to unclench, not because everything is perfect, but because nothing is weaponized. There is disagreement without degradation, closeness without surveillance, warmth without conditions, accountability without fear. But here is the uncomfortable truth. If chaos raised you, calmness will feel suspicious if inconsistency bonded you. Stability will feel boring, not because it is boring, but because your body has been trained to confuse intensity with importance. So take this moment to breathe and ask quietly, have I ever actually experienced a love that didn't demand sacrifice as proof of devotion? If the answer is no, that doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've never been shown a different gravity. And once you recognize the difference, you're finally ready for the moment every transformation requires. The moment you choose yourself. Section 10. The moment you choose yourself. There comes a point in every painful relationship where the mind goes quiet, not out of defeat, but out of clarity. It's the moment you stop asking, how do I fix them? And start whispering, what is this doing to me? You realize you've broken your own heart more times than they ever could. You defended them to your friends, to your family, to the mirror. You called your wounds loyalty, your fear devotion, your silence strength. But then something shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a subtle recognition that feels like remembering an old name. You were never meant to love at the cost of your own existence. Choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's the natural ending of a long negotiation between the person you've become and the person you were always meant to be. Think about this. There is a version of you watching from the future, hoping you will stop abandoning your own needs just to prove you can endure pain. Listen for that voice. It's small, but it's honest. It doesn't beg. It simply says, "Come back to me." Because leaving someone harmful isn't an act of rebellion, it's a homecoming. Section 11. How to leave without losing your soul. People imagine leaving as a dramatic exit. Bags packed, doors slammed, a final explosion of truth. But that's movie logic. Real escape is quieter, smarter, and far more deliberate. You don't need a grand declaration. You need a plan that returns your power piece by piece. 1. Reclaim mental clarity. Write down what has happened. Not to dwell on it, but because your mind has been trained to doubt itself. A written record becomes your anchor when the fog returns. 2. Tell one safe person, not 10, just one. Your nervous system heals faster when another mind helps you hold the truth. 3. Strengthen your independence. Save money quietly. Rebuild routines. Re-establish your internal life, hobbies, work, time alone. These are not luxuries. They are exits. 4. Don't announce your intentions. People change their behavior when they sense they're losing control. You don't need resistance. You need space. 5. Move in micro steps, not leaps. 1 distance creating action per week. A shift in tone. More time outside the relationship. Small boundaries rehearsed privately before spoken publicly. And here's the truth most people never hear. Safety doesn't always look like courage. Sometimes it looks like subtlety, consistency, and the quiet collection of your own strength. Leaving isn't one act. It is a sequence of reclaimed choices. And once you've taken those steps, you are ready for the question that frees you completely. Section 12. The one question that frees you. There is a question that ends confusion, cuts through denial, and reveals the truth in a way your mind can't escape. If someone you loved was being treated the way this person treats you, would you tell them to stay? That question bypasses hope, longing, fear, fantasy, and speaks directly to your moral instinct. When the answer rises in your body, you'll notice something. You always knew the truth. You simply needed permission to value yourself as much as you value the people you protect. Here's the quiet revelation. The advice you withhold from yourself is the advice you would never withhold from someone you love. So sit with it. Let it echo through the part of you that still remembers who you were before fear reshaped your boundaries. And when clarity finally arrives, you don't need rage, you don't need revenge, you don't need dramatic closure. You only need one decision: to stop calling self-destruction loyalty, and to stop mistaking endurance for love. If this video reached something in you, you can write anonymously or openly in the comments. What was the moment you realized something was truly unforgivable? Your story might be the mirror someone else desperately needs. You are not the version of yourself that learned to tolerate harm. You are the version learning to walk out of it, slowly, steadily, without apology. And that is where your life begins again.